Want help to grow your business? Download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.
Hello and welcome to Google Made Easy. My name is Peter Moriarty and I am super excited to have you here for another exciting episode helping you master Google Apps. So what are we going to be covering this week? This show is how to get started with Google Calendar. We're going to be going through from the basics right up to some kind of advanced stuff. So two quick things. Number one, if you're at home and you're sitting there with your laptop ready to get rock and rolling, remember we get really practical. So make sure you're ready, make sure you're signed into your Google account and you're ready to get started. Also, if you're just taking notes, that's totally fine as well. Make sure you're ready to get practical with us. Number two, make sure that you're tuning in and continuing the conversation with the rest of the Business Blueprint community on the hashtags Google Made Easy and hashtag Business Blueprint. And I look forward to continuing the conversation with you there. So what are we going to be covering in this week's episode? First up, we're going to go through the basics of creating events and inviting guests. We're going to go through all the ways that Google Apps and Google Calendar is different to other calendar programs that you might have used before. Next, advanced event features and settings. There's some really cool stuff in there that make Google Apps and Google Calendar really special. Next up, how to see and view a colleague's calendar and how to see the different types of colleagues' calendars and the sharing permissions and how they affect what you can see. Next up, how to subscribe to a public calendar. So if you've got a third-party calendar application or maybe a business scheduling app that you want to subscribe to in your Google Calendar, we're going to show you how to do that. Next up, how to share your calendar with teammates. So if you'd like your teammates to be able to see your calendar and see different options there, I'm going to show you how to get that done. Next up, how to connect your calendar to a booking system. So if you'd like to get your calendar events and either sell or provide appointment slots to your Google Calendar live, we're going to show you how that works. Really, really cool stuff. Next up, how to get more out of Google Calendar with Google Calendar Labs. These are the experimental behind-the-scenes features that Google are cooking up in their secret kitchen, and we're going to show you how to get access to those and what cool things you can switch on to get even more out of Calendar. And finally, we're going to go through how to synchronize your calendar with your mobile device. That's a super important step to make sure that you are connected. So let's get started on our Google Calendar Masterclass. Really great to have you here. Let's get rocking and rolling. So first up, we're going to go through the basics of our Google Calendar event. So I'm going to show you how to access the Google Calendar and then how to get the basic events done. Now, if you've used a calendar app in Outlook or maybe iCal or MacMail, something else, then you would be familiar with the basics of how a calendar works, even maybe using it on your iPhone or your Android device as well. Now, Google Calendar is fully compliant with all of the other calendar apps that are out there. So whether it's Outlook or Outlook Express or anything else with a calendar, whether it's iCal on an Apple machine, they all use a standardized format for calendar invites. So don't be worried if you create a calendar event in Google Calendar and you're worried about whether or not it's compatible with other people's systems. It works just fine. So sending out an invite from Google Calendar will work in someone's iCal or in somebody's Outlook as well. So let's go through the basics of creating an event and how that works. So we're going to first go ahead and access my Google Calendar. Now, to do that, it's obviously all on the web like the rest of the Google Apps ecosystem. Let's take a look at how we can access it. So going along to my web browser here, it's as simple as browsing to calendar.google.com, and that's going to bring up my calendar. Now, if I wasn't signed in, it'd ask me to sign in, but I'm signed in here, so we're all ready to rock and roll. So you can see here we've got lots of events on my week this week, nice and busy. Here today we are at Business Blueprint getting our filming done. So we're going to create a test event and start getting to work on that. So we've got some free time on Saturday, so we may as well make our test event there. So to create an event, notice I'm just dragging and dropping with my mouse pointer to create an event. So you can see here that it's just automatically selecting the start time. I can even start it on the half hour if I'd like to. And that's going to help me create an event. We can even do really fancy things to get an event created by using the Create button here. So I can actually use the Quick Add menu here, and if I say dinner with mum Saturday 7 p.m. and I add that to the Quick Add, that's going to automatically, as you can see there, quick add that to my calendar and put the event in there just from my normal typing, which is really cool. That's one that not many people know about. But what you'll probably be doing in most cases is just dragging and dropping an event. So we're going to put this event on Saturday, and let's call it me time. Here we go. Let's put that one in there, and I'm going to click the Create Event button. Now, what that's going to do is that's going to create the event. It's there, it's ready to go. And if I want to edit the event, it's just a matter of double clicking, and I can go ahead right into all of the event options there. So that's easy enough. What if we want to move this event around? We can simply pick it up, drag and drop to different areas on my calendar, and it's going to automatically update the event for me. So now that that's done, let's go through some of the cooler stuff that you can do with the Google Apps events. So let's jump into an event here. Let's create a new one. And let's say, for example, that I want to get access to my colleagues' calendars and see when they are available to catch up with me for an event. Now, all I need to do is invite them as guests. So let's go ahead and invite some of my colleagues. So I'm going to invite Hardy and Shakira and Krunal as well. Get all these guys invited to the event. And if I want to see a time where everybody is available to access, to meet together, now this only works for internal team members, so only for people within my team, I can click onto the Suggested Times button, and that's actually going to pop up and find a time when we're all available. So it'll find a time when all of our calendars are clear for an event, and it's automatically going to suggest some times for us, which is really, really clever. What Google's doing is, because everyone in my business has shared their calendars with me, so I can only see read-only on their calendars. I can't edit their calendar events, but I can at least see what they're up to. Automatically, it's going to allow me to pick a time. It's going to go and search all of the calendars and pick a time when we're all available, which is a really neat feature. So that Suggested Times, once I click on one of those, it's going to adjust the event time to one of those suggested times. So that's how I choose and pick whether or not one of my colleagues is available for a meeting. So when I'm ready to send off the invitation, I just click the Save button, and what that does is that's going to send off the invitations to anyone else who's been added to the event. Now, I don't need to send them right away. I don't want to annoy any of my colleagues, but let's say, for example, I want to add somebody else into the event to invite someone to be a part of it. So I'm going to go ahead and let's invite Marshall, and let's invite Joyce as well to the event, and those people are outside of the business. They're going to receive an invitation in their inbox, which will work fine with iCal or with Outlook or whatever they're using to get them invited to the event as well. So that's the basics of creating an event and inviting guests. That's how we get started with Google Calendar. Hopefully you've already worked that out by now, but if not, that's the absolute basics of getting started. So let's get into some of our more advanced event features. Google Apps and Google Calendar have some really cool stuff that you can do with calendar events that are specific to anyone working with Google Apps. So some of these features are not going to work quite well if somebody's outside the business, but these are great features to use between you and your team. Let's go through some of them and have a look at how they work. So first up, one of my favorites is the ability to automatically add a video call or a video hangout to the meeting. So you'll notice here that automatically Google has scheduled a video call to the meeting here. And so with that video call, as soon as I click into there, it's actually going to open up into a live Google Hangout with any of my other colleagues at the time. So I might change name, and I might call that a strategy call. And then I can have that as the name of the Hangout when everybody's ready to jump into the calendar. So that's one of the cool things that you can do just as part of the calendar invite. Next up is the ability to attach documents. So if I click down here, you can see the attachment menu. I can go ahead and I can attach any of my documents from my Google Drive straight into the meeting invite as well. And what that's going to do is that's going to give access to that attachment to anybody else who is invited to the event. So it's automatically going to share it with them, which is really great. Now, we've got a couple more advanced options down here, which I'm going to show you how these ones work as well. So you'll notice here that I can choose a specific color for the event. Now, notice here that on my calendar, let's go ahead and save that. Let's take off the external guests first. So let's take off Joyce and let's take off Marshall. We'll go ahead and save that. Let's save. And we're not going to send invitations. All right, cool. So you'll notice here that all of my events are blue on my calendar. But with this new event that we've just created here, you'll notice that I can choose an individual color just for this event if I like. So there we go, that one's changed the color. So if you like, color coding your events, you can go ahead and change the color on any individual events to make it different to the default color of that particular calendar. Next up, we can choose whether or not I want to show myself as available or busy. And that's important because what that means is that changes my calendar availability if anyone else is trying to book a meeting with me to either available or busy. So by default, that's obviously busy. Now, next up, I can choose to automatically have this set.
To continue enjoying this presentation, download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.